creating online classrooms in a faith formation context.
I was inspired by the last workshop, so
that's excellent. I'd like for us to begin with prayer. So let's do that. The Lord be with you.
Also with you.
Let us pray. O God of unchangeable power and eternal light, look favorably on your whole church, that wonderful and sacred mystery. By the effectual working of your providence, carry out in tranquility the plan of salvation. Let the whole world see and know that things which were being cast down are being raised up, and things which had grown old are being made new, and that all things are being brought to their perfection by him through whom all things were made, your Son, Jesus Christ our Lord, who lives and reigns with you in the unity of the Holy Spirit, one God forever and ever. Amen. I love that prayer in the context of online faith formation, because things which had grown old are being made new is kind of our theme today. Let me introduce myself before we keep going. My name is Nurya of Parish. I came to this conference for the first time 2 years ago, because this is my second time presenting, third time at eFormation. And when I came 2 years ago, it was with the strong sense that we in the church needed to understand digital technology more comprehensively and be able to use it more fully, and with a very strong sense that I did not know what I was doing and that I wanted to be around some other people who also did not know what they were doing, but we were all trying together. And that is the atmosphere that I found 2 years ago at eFormation. I was so excited about being here that I decided that I wanted to come back the next year and maybe offer something, and Kyle was kind enough to allow me to do that. So last year I offered a workshop on creating videos as part of ministry with children and youth, and that is actually getting a revamp this year. I'm going to offer that on Wednesday afternoon. But last year when I came to eFormation, I came wanting to learn exactly what I'm sharing with you today. I knew I'm an associate priest at St. Andrew's Episcopal Church in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and we are a congregation that has 3 services on a weekend, so Saturday at 5:30, Sunday at 8 o'clock, Sunday at 10, and my primary responsibility is with our youth ministry, and I also have an 11-year-old and a 14-year-old. So I knew that youth were increasingly engaged with digital technology. And I knew that as somebody that had gone through seminary and been active in the practice of ministry, I didn't have enough tools in my toolbox to be able to engage youth in the way that they were starting to learn and engage one another, which involved the internet. And so when I came here last year, I came wanting to learn, well, how do you make an online classroom? And what I found looking at all of the workshop descriptions was there wasn't anybody who was going to teach me how to make an online classroom. And my conclusion at the end of last year's eFormation was, well, I guess that means I need to go figure out how to make an online classroom, and then maybe I can come back and share. And that's actually what happened. I want to welcome the folks that are arriving for the first time. And I also, small housekeeping note, want to mention that we are the Webinar Plus Room. And so for those of you that are here in person, you are joining this experience with, I don't know how many folks.
58 people right now.
With 58 people who are online. So welcome to all of you, and let's get together and figure out more about who's in this room and what we want to do.
Okay.
I'm sorry, webinar people. I think I accidentally muted myself when I was trying to figure out how to switch slides. I will not do that again. So I'm going to leave this slide up for a minute so that you all can go to the place where you are going to participate in this poll. Yes, ma'am.
My screen says waiting for poll to resume.
Waiting for poll to resume is the right thing for your screen to say, although it probably means I should have cleared that poll. So we'll look a little awkward when we start, but it'll make sense. If you're here in the room and you're there at the place to vote, would you put your hand up? Okay, we're still, okay, put your hands down. I'll wait another, I'll wait so we can all get there. Oops. This is where we're going. Oh, that's not where we're going.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
It's pretty now, but it's not. It's pretty now, but it's more challenging because. Okay, that's where we're trying to go. Now try it again. If you're in the room and you're there, put your hand up. All right. And how about in webinar? I saw Chris, you put your hand up, so that's good. Everybody's happy. Okay, this is slightly more complicated than we knew. Because I'm on the webinar and I have the Zoom, I am, okay. So you should now see a question on your online polling. The best description of your ministry is, and I see some folks who are answering that question. How's this working for you? Because we can skip this part if this isn't working for you. Okay. Did you?
I didn't get the whole thing.
I'm so sorry. I can't go backwards anymore.
Can you just write it on the white?
It is.
Okay.
Everyone's in.
I will ask for you when we get to the answers, so we'll put you in here. All right. Has everybody answered the first question? Best description of your ministry is. So actually, this is fascinating. I always find these fascinating. Almost 40% of you are a resource to others, so other people look to you for their ministry development. Almost exactly similar percentage are working directly with children and youth. And more like a quarter of you are mentoring and leading adult leaders. So for each of those audiences, you will have a slightly different learning desired outcome from this experience. Some of you are trying to figure out how this works so you can teach other people how to do it. Some of you are going to be trying this at home, maybe. So hopefully we'll cover all of those needs in this session. All right, let's go to our next question. So you should now have, oh wait, you never saw that. Huh. All right, well, we'll figure that out the next time. Do you see the next question? I'm here because?
It did, it took it back.
And it took it back. Okay.
We need the address.
Okay, do you now see I'm here because?
Yes.
Okay. And what I'm seeing is this webinar people can see my screen right now, but not the in-person people, because it's the desktop too.
Yeah.
It's the little, it's not so great for the people in the room. Webinar people, for a change, you are having a better experience than the people in the room are. Okay.
More webinar folks than you all. So.
That's not good. All right, did everybody get a chance to enter their answers?
Yeah.
I still see things moving here. Oh, okay, so I'll just read to you what your results are. 61% of you are here because you want to make an online classroom. 25% of you are here because you're curious. 6.8 have tried making an online classroom, so you've done it. 6.8% of you have made an online classroom. I might have phrased that a little bit differently. I was trying to get it like, did you try it and it didn't work and you kind of gave up? Or did you really do it? So I'm sorry if that was poorly phrased, but given that most of you want to make an online classroom, you're in the right place. And the last one is this is the last question, hopefully. This makes sense to you in terms of your own learning. And my goal with this is to be able to have us have a sense of both the online people and the in-person people in the same learning cohort. So this was my goal. Oh, fascinating. So in terms of your own learning, this is the last question in our poll.
If you just go to your desktop. So I'm seeing.
You're seeing it all?
No, I'm seeing. Yeah, I'm seeing everything that you.
Oh, really?
On the webinar, it's just your screen. I think setting to different. Just go to your.
Well, this is our last thing, so we're good. So I think we definitely don't have everybody participating in this poll. It's now that I'm seeing numbers instead of percentages. A lot of online folks are. Okay, so I will say in terms of your own learning, then the poll says actually most of you prefer a mix. So we had 43 people that preferred a mix, 15 people that preferred to learn in person, kind of like you're doing right now as soon as I get my little slides back up, and only 4 that preferred to learn online. So that I think that's interesting because I would not be surprised if that were also the case in our congregational contexts, that people are looking for a way to learn both online and in person. And so our design challenge is, well, how do we make that blend in a way that works for our contexts? Okay, we're going back to the originally scheduled programming. So, my first slide is a quote from Yogi Berra. If the world were perfect, it wouldn't be. And this slide speaks to why I began the online classroom. I mentioned earlier that I am active with youth ministry in the congregation that I serve. And I noticed that year over year, we were having fewer and fewer youth participating in confirmation. One of the reasons that was the case was that we traditionally scheduled confirmation for an hour and a half on Sunday after the Sunday morning service. And I heard from families as I talked with them about why this didn't work, that they had sports tournaments that were scheduled at that exact same time. And whether or not I agree with this, what I was hearing from families was, well, my son is on the varsity team and his team relies on him and he can't skip. And I haven't yet figured out how to appropriately say, your son is on the varsity team of Disciples of Jesus Christ also, and it's just as important for him to not skip. I didn't have the language for that, and there's a certain element of not wanting to it's the wrong time when someone's in coffee hour and they have 30 seconds where they're explaining something to you to say that sentence. You almost need 45 minutes and a few cups of tea or coffee. But I knew that these youth were interested in what we were learning in confirmation, and I wanted to make it more accessible to them given the realities of their lives. So if the world were perfect, I wouldn't probably be having this experience with you. It isn't. But recognizing that we aren't called to be conformed to the world, but transformed by the renewing of our minds, I also believe that there was something about online learning that would help our youth to have a new understanding of who they were in Christ and a better grasp on what the church was and how they could participate. And also, as we've moved into an increasingly digital world, I thought it was important for the church also to be part of that world. So we embarked on this experiment of having an online confirmation experience. Now, I will say, I am not here as a gigantic cheerleader for online classrooms and online confirmation. And I want to put that out there because it would be easy to say, this is the thing, and you should do the thing, and then everything will be fine. And that would be a lie. I want to start by acknowledging that there are some real cons to an online classroom experience. It's harder to build relationships among people who are participating in an online experience. I don't know whether the webinar people, feel free, webinar people, to chime in and say I'm wrong because you're engaged in online learning right now. And in a context like this, we're not building relationships. I'm talking and you're listening. But over time in a confirmation program, one of the big goals is to build relationships, and it is more challenging in an online environment. It's also because there's not that time context, like you're in confirmation class for an hour every week, it's harder to digest and reflect on the material. I could not see whether students were just, okay, I got to watch this video. Okay, I got to take this quiz. Okay, like I have to check all these boxes. In the classroom that we'll get to and that you'll see, we built in reflection questions, but what I noticed was that mostly the reflection wasn't as deep as it was when we were in an in-person context. We're a people of incarnation. We believe that God came to life and walked on earth. We incarnate the faith community in our living contexts. It's not quite, to me, and I'm sure there are people that would argue with this, it's not quite as incarnational to engage in an online learning experience as it is to have a face-to-face relationship. How do you pray together? It's not like you can't pray together in an online community. In fact, the Chisakam, the church and social media group, prays together every Tuesday night when they gather for a Twitter chat on church and social media. But there's something about holding someone's hand, seeing their face, that it makes for an experience that is just different from that. After having done this once, I am even more fully convinced that this is still really new. It's a new and unproven way to foster discipleship. It's just a side note, my daughter this year, my daughter's 14, she's an 8th grader, and she took online French as part of her school curriculum this year, which one point to that is teenagers think this is normal. It's happening in school. The other part of that is she did not have a great experience with online French, and nor did her entire cohort of learners, and the school ended up telling them all that they better take French again in a face-to-face class. So I take comfort from the fact that we are not the only people figuring this out and trying to understand how it works. And I also flag that, if the school that has many more resources to put into this than the church is currently putting in hasn't figured it out, then we really want to be cautious with our approach, and yet also bold enough to use these tools as best they can be used. And then finally, because students are getting this at school, I wonder, well, is it too much like school? There are no faith formation learning management system platforms. We are going to get in Beth Lewis, who's the CEO of Oxford Fortress, who's in the front row. I'll show you in this presentation today is the Schoology platform, which is designed for public school use and which we use for our faith formation program. But because the platforms that exist are designed for school, not faith formation, they have a school flavor to them. And you don't want to turn off kids who don't like school from faith formation because your platform is too similar. So those were the cons. I started with the cons. I guess I'm a bad news first kind of person. But here were the pros. Sometimes online learning is the only way that you are going to be able to provide content to someone. And especially some of the youth that we had that went through our online confirmation program were youth that were not regularly active in our church's formation ministry programs. And I'll tell a story, but when I get to the slide. The other thing, Chris, yes, there's a question from the webinar people.
Ann Knox says, VoiceThread is one of the best tools I know to help create community within an online learning community because it uses voice and video for conversations.
And Knox, thank you for mentioning VoiceThread, and that I couldn't manage to integrate that into Schoology, but I think that was because of we'll talk later. So it is possible to integrate voice-to-voice, and I'll show you an app for that as we go further. But we didn't have it in our first iteration of the program that we ran this fall. So pros, sometimes it's the only way to deliver content. You are able to ensure mastery or at least basic competence in an online format in a way that you don't usually face-to-face. I've done youth ministry for years. I've never given a test to my kids in youth ministry. I've, here's a little quiz to see where you are with what your opinion is. But I've never tested them on, did you actually comprehend what I just told you? Partly because I didn't want it to have the school flavor. But in a learning management system online, you pretty much have to, because that's the only way that you're going to know whether they actually watched that video. And they recognize that. There isn't that same I'm getting a test, feeling it's more like, okay, yeah, here's the test. I always have the test. That's the part of how this works. And so you are able to ensure mastery in a way that you don't, in other ways. You're also able to ensure no lessons are skipped. Can I just say, as somebody who does Sunday morning faith formation programming, the concept of being able to know that no lessons are skipped is just so fabulous, because you can set up your learning environment to make it required. First, you have to do this. Then you have to do that. And third, you have to do this. So you can't get to step 3 without having passed through steps 1 and 2. That is no longer the context of in-person faith formation, as families' attendance has become so erratic in church, in in-person church experience. Because people are doing this kind of program at home, you can tell them to go do stuff at their house. They're probably at their house while they're engaging in your learning program. So, for example, in our confirmation, one thing that we built in was, what Bibles do you have at home? Go find them, ask your parents where they are, and then tell us what kind of Bibles you have. Which, by the way, was way too educational for me, as I learned that I did not have families having Bible translations at home that were useful and accessible to them. I had no idea. So I learned a lot through this process. That's just one of the things I learned. Depending on your church setup, it took us, I thought, a little long to get Wi-Fi in our church building. So I wasn't able, it was just this past year that I was able to use online resources in our youth ministry through having a Roku, and being able to use the YouTube videos in youth ministry. That isn't an issue if you're doing an online classroom. You just plug the link in and they're already online. Boom, they go to wherever it is you want them to go. And last, I would say the thing that was the strongest pro for us was the people really appreciated the flexibility that this gave them. The students that went through the online confirmation program were able to pick their timing and still do their water polo. And so this is the student. If it weren't for the online class, I wouldn't have gotten confirmed. Yeah, in the back.
What should I have in students? Like, do you have any issues around accessibility with having Wi-Fi and online?
So the question from the back is, were there any accessibility issues with online Wi-Fi at home? We did not have those issues, but absolutely those are issues. I don't have a solution for them. This youth, this is a youth who is 3rd generation, I think, Episcopalian, parents raised in the church. She was raised in the church. This was actually one of my water polo kids. So she and her family were participating in the formation program, but she could not fully participate in confirmation as it was usually offered. And I'm in one of the versions of the Bible Belt in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And the high school that this young woman attends is in a very predominantly a theological background that taught her biblical inerrancy without question. And because of her friends that were explaining to her what Christianity was, she thought she couldn't probably be a Christian because she was a scientist. And science and Christianity didn't go together, according to her friends. And so was when she was going through our online confirmation program and recognized that in our tradition, critical thinking as applied to scripture and tradition is welcome, because we told her that in online confirmation. Then her light bulb went off. I can bring my brain and my Bible, and it's okay. I can be confirmed in the Episcopal Church. And she was confirmed. If it weren't for the online class, she would have never even gotten that material. And so that story is what keeps me going, recognizing that what we did was still very much the beginning. And it is honestly, I'm embarrassed to show you our confirmation program because I really feel like it was insufficient. And yet it is kind of on a par with what has been required for confirmation in our diocese. And it was a beginning. And I told that very clearly to the students. And so anyway, so you'll see it. The reason that I wanted to start something is this quote has been with me ever since I started doing faith formation in the 21st century, the post-internet, post-Christendom age. I honestly do not think that we know what we're doing, and it's better for us to acknowledge that up front and have a beginner's mind. Recognize that we are going to experiment our way, and when I say we, I mean all of us in this room and all of us in this webinar. We are trying to find what works so that we can pass on to the next generation of leaders something a little bit more than we who are doing all this for the first time could receive. We just get to be the generation that combines faith formation and the internet. It's a challenge, it's a privilege, it's our lives. So I take the approach of that research being very much in-person, tangible, real, and I also want us all to remember that it's a culture change for the entire church. We don't know what we're doing. We haven't done it this way exactly before. And so there are some steps to take before you embark on building an online classroom. First, you want to build support in your context for having an online classroom as part of your faith formation experience. Figure out if it's really meeting a need in your church. I was able to very persuasively say to our rector and to our congregation, we have kids who want to take confirmation and aren't able to come. And so we want them to have confirmation experience, and this is how we do it. And it was very clearly meeting a need. I am somebody who is okay on a learning curve. In fact, sometimes I think I just go find learning curves because that's where I'm most okay. And I was also very confident. I've been at this church for 7 years, and I knew my rector trusted me. I had already been part of the in-person confirmation experience, and so our rector and vestry were willing to say, yeah, go try that thing. But I also want to say it's not the first thing that we did. We built our technological capacity at our church slowly over time, and the first thing we did was we got Wi-Fi through the building. That took me actually a couple of years of lobbying. Then we got a Roku, and we started using YouTube videos in our church's formation ministry program, so that instead of a Roku, I see someone in the front who looks confused. It's just like a little box that you can plug into your TV, and if you have Wi-Fi, it hooks in through your Wi-Fi, and you can get YouTube or Amazon Video or Netflix directly from the internet showing on a television in whatever room you might already have a television that you used to only be able to play a DVD on. Now you can use videos from the internet as well. If you don't have a television, then everything I just said is not very helpful to you. Then we did a big video project, which was a year of our faith formation ministry, Sunday mornings with our youth. We did a video project called Disciples in Place. And if you want to know more about that, come to my workshop on Wednesday. But it was engaging the youth in doing research and project-based learning for faith formation that had a video outcome that went on YouTube. And after we did all that, then we had an online classroom. So it wasn't like going from 0 to 60 overnight. It was, we're gradually integrating technology into our program. Now, that's how we did it. That doesn't mean it's the right way to do it. It's just how we did it. So I want to, before we go take the deep dive into what is a learning management system, I also want to give you some ways to begin that don't involve building an entire class on a learning management system. And this is my cute graphic for the catch-up model. And I want to give a shout out to Sue Van Oss, who I believe is on the webinar right now, because Sue Van Oss at St. Paul's Episcopal Church in Duluth, Minnesota, is the person who is your good example. Sue created a faith formation website in her congregation a few years ago. She's here. Hey, Sue. Thanks for showing up. This is the front page of Sue's faith formation website, and you can go to it if you want to. The link is at the bottom of the slide, and you can mess around and see what she has. I interviewed Sue as part of this process of figuring out what I was presenting to you today, and she talked about how they had thought that they might do an LMS, but at the beginning they realized that what they really wanted was catch-up, the catch-up model. So when you go to Sue's website, if you go to the youth and you go to the confirmation journey, you get to this as part of her page. And basically, I'm going to go to the next slide here. What this is a place for families to go if they miss a session in the in-person class. It's very comprehensive. So she has every session that they've laid out and a link. Then if you click, say you click on this first link, September 13th, session 1 for parents and teens, it goes specifically to what happened on session 1, the parent and teen meeting and dinner. If you were not able to attend, you have now you have homework because you weren't there. Read over the confirmation booklet. And if you're a parent, watch the PowerPoint presentation and watch the videos that were shown at the parent portion of the meeting. And then here's what she assigned to everyone that did show up. She assigned them to read chapter 1 of the My Faith, My Life book. And she assigned to the students to talk over their baptism with parents, godparents, and write something for her about her faith right now to bring to an envelope and come to class. So if you were that youth, and it wasn't that you could never make confirmation because water polo always got in the way, but if it was that once a month you knew you had a scheduled conflict, because Sue has created this catch-up model, so to speak, you don't have to opt out of confirmation. You opt in to all of the in-person sessions that you can come to. And if you can't come to all of the sessions, here's a very simple way to have that material at home and be able to jump right back when your class resumes in an in-person format. So that's what I would say is a good ground floor. You're probably not, I mean, you all here want to build online classrooms, so you're like ready for the first floor. So the next step beyond the catch-up model is flipping and blending your classroom. And I want to introduce that to you not by talking to you, but by showing you some videos, which are impossible to show in this. You learn so much. Okay, webinar people, I don't know what I'm about to do to you. Human people, I don't know what I'm about to do to you. We are going to go, I'm going to have to share the whole screen differently, or the people that are here aren't going to be able to see.
Yeah, that's what I tried to say.
Okay, so say that again. Sorry. So
Go to the click the link.
Click the link, go to page. Whoa, what'd you just do?
Oh my goodness, where is this right here, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, see, you have so many things open right now. There we go.
Sorry. So
Oh, I see. You need to mirror your displays.
That's the problem. Okay. Oh, this is good. This is good. We love Chris Hamby. That's not it either. Okay, but that's all right because I can find it from here. I can find it from here.
That's the video, right?
No, that's not the video,
Oh, good.
but that's okay because I can go to the video. All right, so if I move this screen up here and if oh man. I don't have any sound.
A lot of smart people are.
Yes, we do. Okay, we have sound. The webinar people have sound. Everybody's looking at the same thing. So, as I was saying, in order to share with you what flipped and blended learning is, I have a couple videos, like 3 minutes.
So a lot of smart people at the moment seem to be talking about blended learning. They seem to think that blended learning could be the next big thing in education. And they may be right. A lot of teachers are already trying it, and they've been having some success. But what exactly is blended learning? Well, in a nutshell, blended learning is a mix of face-to-face learning and online instruction. And as long as you have those two things in your teaching, you're doing blended learning. The key is to get the right mix for you and your students. Now, I like to think of blended learning as making ice cream and strawberry dessert. Now, both these two things are really good on their own, but when you mix them together, you get something even better. Now, here's a more concrete example. One teacher I know records videos of herself explaining maths theory, and then she posts these videos onto her school's learning platform. Because the learning platform is available online, her students can watch these videos when they're not at school. After they've seen them, they have to do a quick test. And the test is important because the report tells the teacher how well the students understood the theory. And this means that she can plan her next lesson accordingly. It means that she can make more effective use of her class time. She can spend it going over things that students found difficult, answering questions they may have, and practicing what her students learned. Now, according to the teacher, she loves this because it lets her spend more time with each individual student. This example also shows us something important about blended learning. Teaching online, it gives your students more choice. It gives them some control over where they learn, when they learn, and how they learn, which is one reason why they tend to like it. One final thought. After hearing this, you might be thinking, but why is this so special? I've been asking my students to work at home using their books all my life. Isn't this the same? Well, yeah, it is essentially the same. The only difference really is that the online world is a lot more interesting and interactive than most textbooks. There are thousands of teaching resources available online, lots of them free. There are tests that are marked automatically, there are educational games, and loads of tools that get your students' imaginations flowing and help them achieve more. Also, with the advance of learning platforms, all of this can now be done within a safe and secure school-controlled environment. You can create an online learning environment that's only available to you and your students, so you know that they have access to what they need without having to visit any external websites. So that is blended learning in a nutshell. I hope you found it useful.
So one thing I want to pull out from that is what he says regarding, is this new? It's really, in a way, it's not very new. It's using a new tool for what we've already done. Blended learning is one way to approach having a faith formation experience that happens. That's not me, is it? No. So blended learning is one way to approach having a learning experience that combines online and in-person instruction. And then the other, these all have kind of different technical terms, but there's another thing called flipped learning that I have a 60-second video that I think is also worth your seeing. She said, pulling that up. Page.
Hi, I'm Julie Schell, and I'm going to provide a 60-second definition of a flipped classroom aided by a terrific visual from the Center for Teaching and Learning at the University of Texas at Austin. All right, let's go. The easiest way to define a flipped classroom is to think about it in contrast to a traditional class. In a traditional class, students usually get first exposure to course content inside the classroom via direct instruction from their teachers. For example, the first time they hear about the Pythagorean theorem happens during class time. In a flipped class, that first exposure to content happens before the class meets. Students prepare for class time by doing some kind of coverage activity. For example, by watching a lecture video created by their teacher or created by someone else, or by completing a reading assignment. During class, students work on applying the key concepts or ideas they covered in their out-of-class work. They interact with their peers and their instructors during class time. The cycle completes when, after class, students use that feedback gained during class time to further their learning by reviewing concepts they found difficult, confusing, or interesting. Streaming throughout the entire process are the learning goals, the big picture ideas regarding what students should know and be able to do with the particular content being studied. And that's the flipped classroom in 60 seconds.
That was worth 60 seconds, right? So when I saw this flipped classroom video, what occurred to me is this is exactly what happened when I went to college, except it was with books. Your professor assigns you, read 100 pages of Madame Bovary. We're going to talk about it on Tuesday, right? I mean, this is very familiar, was familiar for me, except what I was not used to was integrating the online component with it. So now we have another problem because my slides, what do I do? I hit play. I'm so glad you're here, Chris. No, I hit play and look, I'm still here.
That's all right.
It is?
Yeah.
Oh, look, I can minimize myself.
There you go.
By me. Oh, help. All right, so sorry about this is the beauty of the Webinar Plus room, and this is an experience that we call research because we don't know what we're doing. I'm just modeling. Good. All right, so how can you flip or blend? Here's some simple ways before, if you don't want to go all the way up to doing an LMS. You can email your students a video that you want them to watch before class, or you can tell them just in the old-fashioned way, read Matthew chapter 1. We're going to be talking about it on Sunday. One way that you can do it that integrates the internet is this application called Seesaw, which I was taught about by my 11-year-old at a technology night at his elementary school. I'll just pause to let that sink in for a moment, because his school is using it. So we're going to go to Seesaw, which once upon a time was up, and I was signed into it. And now, let's see if I can get, I don't know. Oh, this is not good. Okay, sign in. See if I signed in. I did. So unfortunately, you can't see the whole screen because my screen is minimized, which is another story. But basically, what this is an online shared portfolio. So you can add students. Let me go back here. You can add students to a Seesaw portfolio, and then they can upload their work to be shared with their class or with their group, or with their small group of young adults, or with any aspect of your church's ministry. So for example, here's a photo. Please give the website. Oh, that's going to be complicated. Let's not do that. I was going to do that, but I'm not because it's complicated. Yes, I want to start over. Stop. Here's a note. Hi, I love eFormation. And here my item is completed and it's processing. And, oh, I'm sorry.
Someone
Okay.
asked, anyone know why you should use this instead of Google Docs?
Yes, you should use this instead of Google Docs because it's a more welcoming user interface. Apparently I don't know how to use it. Right now I thought I did, but it's not. So it's processing. Oh, I clicked back instead of go. So the item is uploaded. So now in my eFormation 2016 class, there is one note that says, I love eFormation. Now, here's something that you can do with this that you cannot do with Google Docs. I'm scared to demonstrate it and get it wrong, but you can add a voice thread to it, to something. So for example, I wonder if that's here. No. So you can take a picture and add a voice comment. So for example, you could use this to say, look at creation this week. Notice the beauty of the seasons. What is God doing in your community? Take a picture, upload it to Seesaw, and add a verse or add a reflection, add where did you see this? And then you'll have an online collection. Theoretically, if your students actually do your assignments, you will have a collection of experiences that students had beyond the classroom that then can be referred to within the classroom. So that is Seesaw. It is cool. You should look at it longer than we have time for here. So my point with all of this is there's only one new thing here, and it's the internet. So just integrating the internet into the kinds of teaching and learning that we already do is our challenge. And that's where we get to 2 steps beyond the flipped learning model, 2 steps beyond the catch-up model, which is my last video, which is what's an LMS.
What's an LMS? Everything you always wanted to know about learning management systems, but were afraid to ask. Learn it because you use it to deliver education courses. Management, because it helps you organize these courses. System, because an LMS is a computer system. It is a software program that helps you create, manage, and deliver e-learning courses. Just like Gmail helps you send emails. Who uses an LMS? Businesses of all sizes. Various organizations from UN to your local co-op. NGOs included. Government agencies and local governments, schools, universities, colleges, online and e-learning from Khan Academy to lynda.com. How to create an e-learning course. Write or import content. You can do it inside the LMS or import materials from various sources. Word document, PowerPoint, Wikipedia. You will have multiple tools at your disposal to organize your course, deliver it to students, and make sure everything runs smoothly for you and your learners. Monitoring. Whether you're dealing with 10 or 10,000 students, an LMS gives you automated and quick access to grades, records, stats. What about the deployment options? Locally deployed, self-hosted LMS.
This is beyond this over my head.
That you get to install and maintain on your own server. Cloud-based LMS. Server monitoring is taken care of for you.
That's what we use.
Cloud, hosted LMS, halfway between the locally deployed and public cloud options. Now you're ready to create your e-learning portal. Talent LMS, the fastest path to awesome learning.
This is a great example of content marketing, by the way. Talent LMS is teaching people about what an LMS is and promoting their LMS at the same time. That's a huge digression, but it's think about that for your church and evangelism. Okay, that's all we have to say about that. Before we keep going and I take you through the LMS that we used, I want to get a brief. I'm realizing I haven't made you turn to a neighbor or anything, the things that I usually like to do, but I want to get a brief read on the room in person and in the webinar room. If you has anybody made something using an LMS before? I've got one. I've got two. I've got three. What do I have on the web before? What's that?
Got yeses on the side.
Yes. So what platforms platforms have you used?
I was employed at Ohio State University that uses a really robust one. I did a lot of staff training in technology and used it that way so that we didn't have to bring staff from their various widespread departments to one location, but they could work on the material, and then occasionally we'd support it with some face-to-face.
So in a secular context, they had a large learning platform for training for employees. Chris?
Someone mentioned Noodle, but they say maybe it's too big. Someone asked, is Church Next or Pathright an LMS? Yeah,
Church Next is a great example of an LMS. I don't know if you guys know Church Next, but that's an online church learning service, software as a service kind of platform. Church Next provides content, and your church can subscribe and create their own learning community using the Church Next class content. Chris Yaw, who created Church Next, is here somewhere at information, and he's probably either sitting at a table or you can learn more about it from him. I'm interested in anybody else. Randall Curtis at one point said they are using Haiku, which is another LMS platform for a certificate of youth ministry that is being offered by Forma, the Episcopal Faith Formation Educators Alliance. Yeah, Keith.
I experimented with Canvas by Instructure.
Yes,
which
Canvas.
is similar to Moodle, except the media renders in line. I think it's a little more user-friendly, so you don't have to click out of like Moodle to view a video or slides. If you upload your file, it will show up. You can just click the slides easily.
So
having to kind of open up PowerPoint.
So Canvas had a good user interface in terms of inline content. Canvas by Instructure. So last summer, I think I said at the beginning, last summer I came to this trying to learn from somebody else how to do this, and I discovered that there wasn't anybody teaching it. So I went home and I did what I hoped was a fairly thorough review of what the LMS systems were that were out there. And the two that I came down to as kind of finalists for my context, and my context is a small-ish church and one classroom with under 10 students. So that's maybe a very different context for what you are working from. But I was looking at Haiku and Schoology. And ultimately, I picked Schoology because they had the most socially friendly interface, and I really appreciated that. So I want you to go to Schoology at this point in your browser. And can I move this thing? My Zoom interface is getting in the way of my capacity to click things. So I'm going to see if I can log in. If I can't log in, we're going to have a problem. Okay. So this is a Schoology. I'm going to take you to here. And so go ahead, if you would, make yourself a user account on Schoology.com would be the way you would get the most out of the rest of our time together. And then enter the access code that you see here for this sample class.
Can you say that out loud?
The access code is on the screen. It's capital R3, capital S3, capital C hyphen, capital V6, capital S, capital W3. Hopefully you can get that from the screen. Casey?
Should we sign up as a student?
Sign up as a student. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. If you signed up as a teacher, that's probably fine too. This is a free service. This is all free, which I found astonishing. Chris Yai is not in the room, and I know he does a lot of work, and a lot of people do a lot of work to make Church Next, but honestly, I was very happy to find something that was free. It's free is the kind of budget that every church likes to hear. I think if you signed up as a student or a teacher, I might be able to let you into this class, but I think it's going to be easier for you to do what we want to do in this class if you're a student. I actually ended up making myself a teacher account and a student account in Schoology so that I could sign myself up as a fake student in the class that I created as a teacher. So if you're going to use this platform to make an online course, you're going to want both a teacher and a student account eventually.
When you log in,
Okay. Oh, yeah, sorry, you need the access code.
Right.
You know what, why don't I write it on the board? Capital R.
capital R,
Yep.
3, S, 3, C, dash, V, 6, it is S, W, 3.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, how are we doing in here? Give me a thumbs up. You should, I'm getting the word that I need to keep going. So the access code is on the board. If you're having trouble, you might try Googling Join Schoology class, and you would probably be able to find those instructions. All right, okay, so you are now seeing my side, which is on the board. You're seeing your side of this class. 3 folders. You have arrived, discover and discern, live and learn. You see the must complete?
Yes.
As a student, you can still see that. Okay, well, good.
Courses, are we going under courses?
Yes, if you want to, you can click under course, and then where it says join, it'll prompt you for the access code. Now, when I joined Schoology, I did not join as an institution. I just joined as an individual teacher. I believe there's a pricing component if you try to join as an institution. And I was just an individual teacher, so I didn't feel like I was ripping Schoology off. So once you get in there, you can start to see what this course includes. First, there's an on-ramp. I had not taken Bethany Stoll's class on user interface when I designed this a year ago. I just walked away from that 5 minutes before I came here. But I knew that every person that started was going to need some explanation of what they were doing, and I tried to give that to them at the very beginning. So you have arrived, there's a beginning point. I gave them a note, and I gave them an assignment to fill out their profile. When you go to Schoology, you get an individual profile. You can't see mine over here, but in the screen, there's my name, and then when I click on it, there's something I can say something about myself. I can upload a picture, very kind of standard online learning experience. So I wanted to have all my students fill out their profile, and I wanted to have all my students send me a message, because that proved to me that they could communicate using that. They could identify themselves and they could communicate with me. And so I made them do all of that at the very beginning. Now, you might appreciate the note that I think is here. A note about Schoology in this course. Not only have we never taught online before, we've also never used Schoology. It was free. It had digital badges, and it had a fun activity wall interface, so we picked it. It was very, we set it up to have a must complete status. You know what, I think actually, let me go back. I think I'm looking for a different, hang on. Welcome to Youth Confirmation 2015. I think it might be this one. Welcome to an experiment. Yes, sorry, I mentally remembered the wrong one. Welcome to an experiment. You're one of the subjects, and so am I. Nobody, to my knowledge, has ever created a confirmation course in the Episcopal Church using an online learning platform. I looked around and asked, and I haven't found one. Now, that doesn't mean that it hasn't happened. It probably has happened. I just didn't know about it in September. So I tried to be very honest with the students that this was something that we were trying for the first time on behalf of the church, that we wanted to do this because we felt like it was going to be meaningful to them. Being confirmed is about serving God, not just on Sunday, but every day. You probably look at a screen every day. So I wanted to make it clear to the students that we were trying something new and that we were all trying it together, and that the purpose of it was to serve them and future youth. Yeah.
Will we be able to access this using the same code when we get home?
Yes.
So this will be.
Yeah, this is all here. I don't think the next wave of confirmation is that somebody comprehensively somebody comprehensively sits down and thinks through the appropriate content and puts forward something that is not an experiment, but is actually a curriculum. This is not that. Do not go home and say, oh, she has a confirmation program I can use. I would never use this one again. I would do something to it before I used it again. So I just want to be really clear. You got that too, right? In terms of what it looks like, yeah, that's why I'm here, is to show you the way you can structure it, not necessarily how you should make. This is not a perfect example by a long stretch, and it wasn't meant to be. I want to show you a few things that we were able to do that we wanted to do because of this, that we could do because of this, that we couldn't do otherwise. One of my favorite things about this program and being able to do confirmation online, which I guess we could have shown this video even if we hadn't done it online. We could have shown this video in a class. But, and do we have it's 11:44. I'm weighing showing this video versus having time for questions. I think having time for questions is probably more important than showing this video. But we opened with a video that helped them to see confirmation in a bigger context of the purpose of their life. It wasn't just, we wanted them to recognize that it wasn't just about learning church stuff that is, here's a box over here, and you put your church stuff in it mentally, but that confirmation journey was for them to discern who they were, who God had made them to be, and how they could live out from that day to day. That's something that they were able to experience kind of on a one-on-one with the screen, reflectively, hopefully, that otherwise they wouldn't have been able to do. Then we also, because of this, we also had a quiz. So why don't you go ahead and take this quiz for fun? It's in What is Confirmation? Your answers. You don't have to get anything right because you haven't taken any of the, you haven't gotten any of the content. But I would love to see. Can you guys just take a quiz in Schoology? That way you get some hands-on experience. So where you are is in the Welcome, Here's What It's All About folder. Let's pretend you watched the Why Are You Here? You've read What is Confirmation? You've watched Bishop Brewer explain confirmation. You've read me telling you that our bishop's not going to slap you on the face when you get confirmed like Bishop Brewer does, which is what this does. And then you're ready to take your quiz on what is confirmation, your answers. Oh, really? I thought I turned that off.
Yeah, it looks like it's required, but if you just start the video.
I got a lot of people that took it, so thank you, all the people that are taking this. So now what you can do is we start to see that that's a lot more people than took this when I was showing this to real students. Next, your way through. Okay, so you can't skip directly to there, just next. Now you'll be able to see that clearly you don't want to take this quiz without actually going through this because people are averaging 50%. which is good information. That enables, I hate to pick on, I don't know who Barbara Adams is. God bless you, Barbara Adams. Thank you. We do not want to publicize your email address to the world, Barbara Adams. Let's view her attempts. Not made any attempts. Read by question. So now you can see where the points are. You can view the responses by student. This is, I don't know. So some of you have just signed in and some of you have taken this quiz, and you can see how people are doing with these questions. That's one way to engage learning with people while they are engaging with the system. One other feature I want to show you in this class is this student completion feature. Whoops. I can check who has gone where in this class. Benvinda Costariti is at 21% completion with this class already, and you just entered it, what, 5 minutes ago. So it was very helpful with our students to be able to see, okay, well, Isaac has gotten all the way through folder 1. Ian has not even filled out his profile. And then you can go back to those students and say, how is this working for you? Let me also, there is, in each folder, there is a student completion option. And basically, once you have finished uploading everything to your folder, you can set the requirements. So you can say they have to be completed in sequential order. I took that requirement off for you because you guys are grown-ups and I wanted you to be able to move around in it. But for the students, we checked that box. I wasn't going to let them do the next thing before they had finished the last thing. And for things like fill out your profile, at this point it's set to view the item, but you can also set it to somebody has to post a comment or post a reply. Someone has to make a submission. Or you could even set it to you have to score at least 80% on a quiz to be able to move to the next section. That's when you get back to the, is this too much like school problem. I want to show you how easy it is to add material. So you can add a folder. So if you want to get all of your test folder. And you can choose to have that folder be visible as soon as you add it, or you can choose to hide it because you're still working and you don't want people to see it yet. And you can also choose to make it be visible after a certain date because you know that you want it to pop up on June 5th when you're ready for the information. So we'll set this one to visible. And then let's add an external link. I had this set up before let's add, I'll add Grow Christians because I can, because my original link isn't available to me. Oh, maybe it is available. And so then you see down here at the bottom of my screen, here's my test folder and here's Grow Christians. And if I want to then you have to put your content into your folder. And there it is. So now I can say, go to Grow Christians, read the last 3 posts, take a quiz, or whatever it would be. I originally was going to put a YouTube video in there, but my interface is prohibiting that. So I want to go back to give you some hints and tips from my experience, and then I want us to be able to talk with each other and ask questions. So the hints and tips that I would have from my experience are, it's a good idea to require due dates along the path. I was hesitant to do that because I didn't want to have it seem too much like school, and I ended up regretting it. Because what happens is the natural human tendency towards procrastination and students end up not doing. Oh my gosh, I have to do it now because it's the real deadline. I do it all. So I would recommend when you create your online classroom, kind of take the same approach that Sue Van Os did with the catch-up model. Every week, there's something to do, and you have to do it that week, because otherwise you won't be on track with the rest of the class. I would lean on videos. The challenge is that there aren't as many coherent videos in a curricular model that are available to be used in this format as I would like. We used a subscription service for a number of the videos that we put in our course. And it was a subscription that was designed for downloadable videos that could then be used for church purposes. You should not use my course and the videos in it for your courses. You do not have that subscription service. So they are available to you as a demonstration only. They are not available to you to use as content. I hope that was loud enough. There are a number of YouTube videos that are available to you for free. The video that caused the student to realize that she could understand the Bible differently is a Father Matthew Presents video off of YouTube, where he does, this is your brain on biblical inerrancy, and cracks an egg into a frying pan, and then goes through a number of different, here's the Bible is intended to be a library, and it's really a very, he has targeted that video very effectively for teenagers who want to understand how the Episcopal Church thinks about the Bible. So I actually would recommend that one, but you can get that off YouTube yourself. Go to youtube.com and Google Father Matthew Presents, and you'll find his channel. So I would recommend short videos. People do not have long attention spans. Teenagers have even shorter attention spans. We all tested all of your attention spans by keeping you in the room this long, and I should have made you talk to each other, which I'll do that next. And engaging videos. This is where, with the exception of Spark House, the church has a long way to go on engaging videos. We tend to think that a talking head is a good video. A talking head is not a good video. And so the challenge is to make good videos requires resources, financial and time, that the church, and I'll speak for my church, the Episcopal Church, has not been willing to dedicate. And so what we have are wonderful practitioners like Casey Fitzgerald, who is making video on her own as Presbyterian pastor, and there are a number of individual practitioners making video on their own, but there isn't funding that there should be on the church-wide level to get excellent, high-quality video for youth and faith formation. That was my rant. Okay, I'll step down off my soapbox. So that makes the onus on you in your online classroom. You have to go find videos that will engage your audience. Yes, and Beck, do you have a good resource?
I just took a class this morning on making church videos here.
Good.
Formation. So there's a good app to do that.
So you can also, somebody just took a class. The comment was they took a class here this morning on how to make your own videos for faith formation. And I agree with that. What app was mentioned? Do you remember?
It's all new, but they give all the steps to make video.
So then that person has a stepwise process. My internet connection is unstable. That's disturbing. So, and there will also, Wednesday, it won't be on the webinar, but it will be here. I have some examples of how to use video with children and youth. Making video and making good video are two different things. I hate to say it that way, but it's true. So the only way to learn to make good video is to start by making video.
On the webinar, Emily Cunnison said we are using OSNAP to make stop motion videos for our formation classes. So much fun.
OSNAP? How does she spell it?
OSNAP.
OSNAP. Stop motion videos. Try that. I've never heard of that.
Screencast is excellent.
Okay, thank you. Another things that hints and tips. We did not try an online discussion with having everybody online at the same time in different places. I would try that if I did that again. I would definitely continue. I used quizzes. I would definitely include quizzes. Don't be afraid of them. And then the last thing I would say that we had online and in-person meetings. I don't think we had enough in-person meetings. And I would build those in again, if I would build more of those into it as I went forward, so that you have the chance for the relationship development. And you do more of a flipped classroom model where you provide the content for students online, and then they come together and talk about what their experience was.
Videolicious was another.
Videolicious. Episcopal Video Network.
Yeah, they just.
That must be new.
It is, and they're, I think they're just kind of launching it here. They were seminary students that made it, and it goes through everything you need to do to make a welcome video, but you could use all those techniques to make other.
So the resource that is being shared in the room is that there is now, as of this morning apparently, the Episcopal Video Network, and the people who created that have provided a stepwise process to create a welcome video for your church, and that same process could be used to make other videos. So these are my hints and tips, and I would also say I would really like to know what your hints and tips are. I'm going to start by asking you, in the large group and on the webinar, what stood out to you? What did you learn today? Hopefully it was something that you were hoping to learn. What new frontier do you feel more able to try that you couldn't try when you walked in the room? Okay, so since that was not particularly well taken, I'm going to ask you to turn to your neighbor. Yeah?
They're asking for that URL for
the Episcopal Video Network?
Yeah.
Okay, why don't you talk to her? Turn to your neighbor and say how you want to create an online faith formation experience in your context. And webinar people, all of y'all are each other's neighbors. Chat in the chat box. I know, but I can't figure out where they are. It's not Q&A, is it? More? Oh, there it is. Yeah. Depends on what the special need is. So, are you talking about like neurotypical versus autistic, or are you talking about developmental delay, or are you talking about physical accessibility issues?
More like developmental delay, autistic.
Okay. I think it's a question of adapting to what kind of size. Are you talking about a large group of people that are at different developmental stages?
Yeah, we have but they vary in ages and also grades. So we can have more learning disabilities when it comes to first grade, but then when it comes to second school, the thing is that the format that we use in terms of teaching can be sometimes challenging.
So your challenge is differentiated instruction.
Yeah.
I don't have. You want to write on the board?
That's a good one.
Yeah, that's a really good question that I am not competent to answer well, much as I would love to know the answer to that question. I would say this gives you the option to create some different tracks for your students, so that you could provide one set of resources in the classroom, or you could, if you flip your classroom, you can provide different content options to your students based on what their capacity is, and then bring them together for community building. That's the first thing that I would think of.
Go out. My daughter's at home on her own. She's got to read. Oh, I get it. How did can you tell me how we got to get into your site?
Schoology.com. Right. And then enter that as courses and join. And the reference. Okay. And then so create a student account at Schoology.com. Click courses, click join, and it'll ask you for access code and put that access code. Okay. I would love to hear from some of this great conversation that is occurring. If you guys wouldn't mind turning back to the larger room, because I'm really, clearly, you all had a lot to say. I had an excellent question up here. Would you mind if I shared your question? So up here, while we were in the conversation with one another, this gentleman asked, how would you use these tools to enable people of different learning abilities and special needs youth to be able to progress at their own pace? And my first response was that it was an excellent question that I did not know how to answer. And then my second response, once I thought about it for 10 seconds, was if you take that flipped classroom approach and you provide differentiated content based on capacity and desire to learn in the time between in-person gatherings, then bring people together for community building and activities that everyone can share, then that's an approach that enables more differentiated learning to occur. So that was just one of the questions and conversation points that happened during that 5 minutes. Let's talk together about what you said. Yeah, you had a hand up.
I just wanted to ask a question, something you referred to before. What are digital badges?
Oh, did I refer to digital badges? Well, I can. A digital badge is a sign of completion or content mastery. You can have an experience with digital badging right here at eFormation 2016 because Virginia, it's the CMT, Center for Ministry of Teaching, is awarding digital badges to folks if you want to engage that process, who take certain, I think who participate. I think you're earning a digital badge right now and you didn't even know it. So just go to the CMT, to the eFormation website, and there's a link somewhere for digital badges on that website, and it'll explain more to you. And then digital badges are something you can accumulate over time to show the different learning experiences that you've had. You know what? I did mention digital badges. You are absolutely right. I mentioned them in the context of Schoology. When I was getting into Schoology, I was hoping to use their digital badging feature. And I ended up, somewhere on the webinar, someone said their concern was the time constraint was a concern. And I chimed in, yes, time constraint is a concern. Time constraint got in between me and awarding digital badges to all of the students that participated in my online learning experience. And also, they didn't seem to care that much about digital badges. You know, some of these things people over 40 think, oh, the young people will think this is cool. Then the young people don't actually think it's cool. And you have to go by what they are experiencing and telling you matters to them.
I bet you do it like a video game and have levels.
Absolutely.
Because that's the whole allure of the video game is you master, get the level, master, get the level. If you set it up like a video game, they would come.
If you set
we think of Girl Scout badges, you know what I mean, as earning badges. That's old.
the comment for the webinar folks, the comment is if you set it up like a video game, that would be something that might be more interesting because you can level up, and that's a model that many youth understand from having played video games. And you could do that concept with those folders, like here's the level 1 folder, here's the level 2. Oh, I'm on level 2 now. Once you get to level 2, you get something at church, you know, you get whatever a positive is in your context. Other comments or questions? Keith?
When we experimented with this a little bit last year, what I liked about it too was it kind of captured, you know, in-person, kind of weekly in-person for confirmation class. That, you know, we took pictures with the collage the kids made and we posted it there. And so it kind of captured these artifacts of our class time together. And so what I liked having it in the cloud, like formatted on an LMS, was that we could go back and look at what we had done together. And for kids that are going to be confirmed, they have to do a faith statement. And so there are these questions, and they watch videos, and they kind of reflect back on their confirmation experience. And to have an online resource that's just there and lives there, and they can go back and look at, it would help, you know, would help our kids kind of jog their memories.
So we had a comment in the room regarding how helpful it was in a context where somebody had tried, Keith Anderson had tried this before, to be able to not only have the content available through the LMS, but also to be able to archive some of the work that was done in class so that students had that available to them in a format that was accessible as they prepared their kind of pinnacle experiences, the development of their faith statement in his context. And so as they developed their faith statement, they could go back to the LMS and look at all of what they had done together as a class, as well as the content they received online.
Said that way better.
I don't think so. Yeah.
There's an element in there of interaction within the student group. Like they can text and message each other and share content as well.
Yes.
Did you utilize that social networking component?
No, and that was the part that I really was not happy with. I'm going to go back to my, where am I going to go back to? Home. I'm actually on another person's course, which which I really would like. I'm going to just quick show this to you. David Simmons. He is a priest in the Episcopal Church in the Diocese of Wisconsin. But his question was, did we use that? Thank you. Did we use the engagement and comment back and forth technology? Wow, now I'm lost. David Simmons has another, this is his class, it's not mine, but it is, I think it's more built out than mine was. He had much more comprehensive information about Old Testament, New Testament. This is for an adult confirmation class that he was doing. So, you know, it's when he saw mine and he made it better. Now his is better. I'm seeing his, and when I do mine, his again, it's going to be better, you know, and that's how the learning community is supposed to work. So anyway, I feel like I just got on a gigantic side note. I was trying to get back to the screen for conversation. Come on, screen for conversation.
Someone asked if we can access his.
I cannot. I do not have permission to share that class with you. You can look him up, and he's somewhere in David Simmons. I don't know where he is. He's in Wisconsin somewhere, and ask him if he'll let you in. But you can see the recent activity in this. He will, and I have mine that's further down here. So here's a great example. I post to my confirmation class from this is our real confirmation class. Welcome to Schoology. We're trying to make it meaningful, relevant, not boring. And that's me, the fake student, saying, thanks, Mother Nurya. So this part, the students did not really utilize. They did not comment back. I do not know why. Just a quick view into our real class, however. What I liked about it, though, was that interface. It had a very Facebook-like interface. Of course, now Facebook is over if you're a teenager, so that wasn't terribly helpful. But for example, I'm in my real class here. This is a comment thread of what is the Bible that you have in your house. Yes, we have more than one. Here are the St. James Bible, a children's Bible. Yep. Oh, So Bible in the house, yes. Is there more than one? Yes, but we could only find one. Which one is it? The St. James. I have hidden the student's name, and you cannot get into this class. But this was one of those moments where I went, I am a failure as a faith formation instruction. And you know, that was really good learning for me. So is there other questions or comments to share with the wider group? Are we time? We're close. We're at a few minutes before time for 4 minutes till lunch. Okay, well, I'll let you out. Or you just look like high schoolers who are ready to get out early. I will be happy to let you out early, and I will go out with the chat folks on the webinar. I'll stick around for you for a few minutes. If there's anything you want to ask me, this would be a perfect time. Thank you, and please go and do better than I did. And let me know how it works out.